Well, let's bring into the conversation Naledi Kuali, who is the legal manager at People Opposing Women Abuse. A very good afternoon to you, Naledi. Thank you for joining us here on the SABC.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Just weighing in on the back of the Gerhard Ackerman case, looking at the charges that he's facing from your standpoint, what would be a suitable sentence in this case?
I think it would be reasonable to say a sentence of life imprisonment is expected at the very least. For cases of rape, we expect this. It involves minors. It is trafficking. There is a gross disregard for the law. So the crimes committed in this case, they warrant at the very least life imprisonment. And the judge in this case would be within his scope to grant that.
Naledi, we've been watching him in the dark, perhaps his conduct, the lack of remorse coming through, nonchalant over, his pedophilic behavior, alleged pedophilic behavior. What's also been reflected on that front when it comes to his demeanor during this trial?
I think it shows a carelessness. It shows a lack of regard. It also speaks to his way of thinking. So essentially, you have someone who repeatedly says they know what they were doing, minors. Everyone was conscious of what was going on. So it's the constant deflection and the refusal to acknowledge your own act. I'm uncertain as to whether or not it's to disassociate himself with this conduct, or if it's just a mere refusal to see that this is wrong. But it tells us, once again, that we need not take a rehabilitative approach with this individual necessarily, because it is difficult to get them to a place of accountability.
I actually wanted to explore whether rehabilitation was on the card, so thank you for contextualizing that. When we even look at the hideous crimes committed on the children, the trauma that they've undergone, both for the parents and the children at large, what rights do the guardians have at this point on the case to protect or even just help their children navigate with the trauma that they're going to have to now live with?
I think first and foremost, it's important for parents, or anyone raising a child or a legal guardian to approach parenting from a perspective of being a custodian, and that you have legal rights and there are things you can do to protect your child. First and foremost, if you are aware of any harm coming towards your child and they're a minor, you are well within your rights to apply for protection orders on their behalf. You also, minors don't have to report cases of statutory rape themselves. Personally, parents can step in and say, no, this person actually, they are too old to be in a relationship with my 14-year-old, 15-year-old. I will then stand up and I will do something. So you've got that right as a parent. The other thing that's really important is for us to use facilities like the Teddy Bear Clinic, where we say children need to talk. So let's approach counselors, let's approach social workers, let us unpack the children's experiences and ensure that there is a support system in place for when they are triggered, when they have to relive these traumas, because even if a person doesn't go through the legal process or the court system, it's a constant reliving this type of trauma. So psychosocial support is pivotal. There are government resources, and parents are also allowed to facilitate that through private service providers. But it is important to get the kids talking, to get an open and honest relationship, and to ensure that you have the relevant people there to facilitate that process, particularly social workers.
Absolutely. Naledi, just very quickly, given the judgment set to be handed down on Monday, what would be the next steps for Ackerman as well? Should he appeal? What should we also be looking out for on that front?
I think essentially from an appeal perspective, he has the right to either appeal his conviction or appeal the sentencing. And usually with someone who has this many charges, you find that you can go through the appeals process because everyone has the right to. But what we can expect going forward is for him to challenge this either from the basis of I've been convicted incorrectly or my sentence it does not fit the punishment. And in those two spaces, I'm not seeing a very high chance of success. If we're being honest, he's a serial predator, so it is not one charge he'd have to appeal. So going forward, it would be other grounds, and personally, I would not see a likelihood of success here.
Naledi, thank you for your time here on the SABC and really just weighing in on the Gerhard Ackerman case, where judgment is set to be handed down on Monday. He maintains that he has done nothing wrong. We heard that the judgment will be postponed to Monday. Gerhard Ackerman facing over 730 charges, including pornography, rape, and human trafficking.